When I say the word retirement, what visions and pictures pop into your head? Do you see yourself traveling abroad, going to Europe, all over the U.S.? Do you see yourself playing 7 days a week, golf outings every day, visiting the grandkids, playing with them? Or do you see yourself sitting on the front porch just watching the grass grow? Or perhaps some of you may actually, and there's all the great pictures for I just mentioned, some of you may actually have a different vision of retirement. And that vision is one perhaps where you've been taken out of the workplace, that you've become not as useful and irrelevant, kind of like a book that's taken off out of circulation, put on a shelf, never to be read again. And I've thought of all of those questions, and the last ones frankly scare me. I always want to be relevant and useful. So as those of us who are approaching retirement, those who are already in retirement, here's some questions for you. For those who are approaching retirement, it's at what age do I step off into it? The other question I want you to consider is, will I have enough money to last my lifetime? And how long will that be? And then what do I do at that time? So let's start with the first one. At what age does retirement begin? Who tells you when to retire? Is it your employer? Perhaps if you're an airline pilot, I get that one. But the rest of them usually not so much. Is it the government? Is it your spouse? Could be. At 65, George Burns says, it's ridiculous to retire because he still had pimples. This is from the guy who lived to 100. Social Security says it's somewhere between 66 and 67 for most of us. If you were born after 1960, which I know there's some of you in the room that are in this ballpark, it's full retirement age for you is not 66 or 65, it's 67. That's what you have to get to. And the numbers keep pushing forward. So in this graph, you see a typical person in their 40s, mid to late 40s, earning a decent income. And if you'll notice something interesting, that tends to grow over time. We tend to make more money. And just before we step off into retirement is usually when we're making the greatest income we ever do in our entire lifetime. That's when the experience and expertise and skills have all hit. And then all of a sudden you step off into retirement. And you may watch that income get cut in half. And is it any wonder why this alone gives so much angst to so many people when they think about retirement? So what I'd like you to consider is ways to fill in the gap. And perhaps working a little bit longer in your profession, if it's something you enjoy, is not a bad idea. Or perhaps you may need to spend your retirement assets in a different manner. Instead of this hoarding mentality where we have this pile of money and live off the interest, which is so hard to do these days, maybe you need to spend principal and interest. If you spend principal and interest over your lifetime, that'll dramatically increase your retirement cash flow. But this is tricky, because the tricky part of it is, how long is that period going to be? What is your lifetime? Well, according to the CDC, life expectancy for a female in the United States is 81. Life expectancy for a male is 76. But those are averages. Let me ask you something. How many of you in this room know somebody, raise your hand, if you know somebody who's over 90 years old? Let me ask you another question. How many of you know somebody who's over 100 years old? Look around. There's quite a few people. So how about Claire Walsh, who was in the paper about a year and a half ago here in Ocala, a local resident? She blew right past those averages. She lived to 103. Actually, she lived to 104 before she passed away recently. If you Google the word centenarian, which is somebody who's over the age of 100, guess how many you'll find here in the United States? Over 72,000. Yeah, it's a lot. That's a 65% growth over the last 3 decades, just in that segment. Here's another one. Geraldine Talley of Michigan. She actually made it to 116 and just passed away this past summer. 116. Do you know how long she spent in retirement? She retired at 65? It's a long time. I know a local cardiologist that told me this. He says, that is the fastest growing demographic of my clientele is the 90 plus. I find that fascinating. So it's because of this that I think it may be prudent to work a little longer, especially if it's something that you enjoy. However, working in retirement is not always about the money. In my 28 years of serving clients in the financial services arena, one of the things I found most remarkable is that those people who reach retirement and are the happiest are not retired per se. They're still doing stuff. And work may be one of those, part-time, consulting, whatever that case may be. But they're still pursuing their passions at work and play. That's a consistent. I do notice that many retirees will take a year or two off and try to figure out how this whole retirement thing works. And then sometimes they get bored silly and got to find something else to do. There's a school teacher, local school teacher, that retired, and her husband and her retired at the same time. And in the year and a half they were both retired, she liked to watch TV. He didn't. He read 70 books in a year and a half. He liked to read. It annoyed him that she had the TV on. So she started actually volunteering back at the elementary school from which she retired, and her daughter worked at. Well, guess what happened? After about 2-3 days of that, he finally said to her, he said, look, you're spending 2-3 days down there anyway. Why don't you just go back to work? And she did. And she had half the pay, and she was totally okay with that. So it's not always about the money. Because now she can still be a contributing force. She's still out there making a difference in kids' lives because she still has a lot to offer, even at 71.5 years old. I want to introduce you to just such a couple like that. This is Professors Ken and Professor Vera Swade, age 75 and 65. They have no financial reason to work another day in their lives, none. However, they are still teaching, professors at colleges, local colleges. They're Rotary members. They're involved and active in their church and so many different organizations, nonprofits that they contribute to and help out with. And they also mentor adults and kids. And they do something else just recently. At their age, they actually went and got credentialed and certified with the state of Florida to be guardians. Not the guardians like you're thinking of with kids, but for the adults. Because guess what? There's a lot of adults who've gone through their lives and they're in their senior years, they're retired, and they have no family. Nobody to advocate or represent for them. And so they become wards of the state when they're unable to handle those things. And these are the people that they entrust to watch after them, make arrangements for their care. Beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Kenny also enjoys basketball at the local YMCA. Look at the intensity on his face. It's here with basketball that Ken Swade and I formed our love and appreciation for one another. He's my hero. I gave him an opportunity to step back onto the basketball court, in which he never thought he would be again. He used to ref for 30 years, played college ball. It meant a lot to him. That's his passion. And he's given me the opportunity to hear a lifetime of stories and experience that I can draw upon. He enjoys basketball. He's passionate about it. The parents and kids know that. They feel that, and they see it. And everybody wants to play for him. There are also some health benefits to this opportunity of following your passions. His doctors say that his heart functioning is actually improving, and it's not supposed to. They don't understand why. But we know. He and I know. And he says that. He says, it is as if, John, you helped me and my wife discover the fountain of youth. And that's following your passions, getting to do what you love to do. That ignites something in them. I just had a conversation with him yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he said, if you were to tell me 15 years ago that I would be involved in all the things that I'm doing and participating in and going and doing, he said, I would have told you, not me. I'm not that guy. I'm retired. I'm done. And I said, that's kind of funny, isn't it? He says, yeah. I said, are you happy about it? He said, oh my gosh, I can't imagine doing anything else than what we're doing. And they travel. They get to do the retirement things. They travel overseas. They get to enjoy all of that. So it's not like they're not retired in the sense of enjoying their time together. But when they're here, they're active, and they're participating in a lot of different things. My wife and I want to be just like the Swades. We want to be able to be working because we want to, living a purpose-filled life and following our passions until the day we leave this world. Here's another hero of mine. This is a local attorney by the name of John Pasheen, 75 and a half years old. John and his son, who was a fighter jet pilot, decided to go over and run in a race, a 1,000-mile, 3-day road rally in Italy, going through the streets, tiny streets, if you've ever been there, they're really tiny, and racing through there called the Mille Miglia. That's pretty exciting. He also stays active in tennis. I would never try to play him at tennis. He'd beat me. Yoga and work. He lives a purpose-filled life, and he enjoys life to the fullest. And he's also doing something else remarkable. He's closing in on a career that's kind of a goal he's had for years to hit. And that is to have practiced law for 50 years. He's about to hit that. But even more remarkable is he's about to hit 50 years of marriage. And he's proud of that, probably more so. And that is truly amazing. So my message to you is, don't let your retirement years be defined by others. You define your retirement, what it should be, and then live it with passion. Always stay relevant by choosing to be relevant. Because when you don't, when someone reaches the retirement age and they choose to stop contributing to society in any manner, and then they pass away without sharing those life experiences and that wisdom, it is, to me, it's the equivalent of lighting a library on fire, and it's lost and gone forever. Please do your part to share your knowledge and wisdom with the younger generations. We need you to. There's a new movie out. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go see it. Robert De Niro goes back to work for Anne Hathaway, right? Experience never gets old. That's the tagline. Perhaps it'll give you a different perspective, and perhaps you'll consider redefining what your retirement is or what it could be. The Chinese philosopher Confucius said, "Choose a work that you love and you'll never work another day." I would encourage you to find something that you're passionate about, live that passion, and then share that passion, and you will always be relevant. I thank you.